Hi, Christopher. Great to have you with us today. Tell me a bit about yourself, the background, and what you're doing at the moment.
So I've worked in financial services for the last 30 odd years, mostly running UK and international European insurance businesses. And more recently, the last 5 or 6 years, I've been running a building society called Furness Building Society, who are based up in the northwest of the UK.
Brilliant. And how many staff do you have?
We've got a couple of hundred of very good people. They're spread right way across the country. So we've got some hybrid working and smart working, which is pretty commonplace in across the world, probably since the pandemic. But we introduced that probably in about 2017, 2018, when I was trying to work out. It's a bit of a personal, professional challenge for me. What do you do with a tier 2 building society based in the northwest, and and a region that really specialises in nuclear, so Sellafield, nuclear waste storage, and BAE and Barrow being nuclear submarines and so on and so forth. So I've sort of always believed that if you want to run an airline, you better have a few pilots around, and if you want to run a bank or a building society, you better have the right people. So good risk management, good financial skills, really good treasury people around. And when you looked across the region, there really wasn't the talent that we had there. So part of the response to me looking at the strategy as I walked in and worked with the team was to sort of work out what our people strategy was. And so hybrid smart working, remote working was a big part of it from sort of day one. And then we've been sort of evolving as we move forward. But in essence, every business that I've run, whether it's had a couple of hundred people in or 3,000 or 4,000 people in some of the big insurance businesses, we're in the people business. And make no mistake about it, you are as good as the people that you can actually hire, retain, and develop during your period.
Great, totally agree. And in terms of that hybrid working, what's sort of the ratio of sort of in the office as opposed to at home?
So as a retail building society, bank, whatever you want to call it, there are a number of job roles which are very much customer-facing, physically customer-facing in branches. Apart from that, pretty much everything is up for grabs. There's a lot of our sort of operational call centre side of things, very much centred around Barrow, and we've got a really good bunch of people who are very committed, local, understand the business, and really are bought into that. So they attend work from the office. And I think office working is really healthy in the first place, because I think segmenting people's lives is really important part of doing that. This old adage of do I live at work or do I work from home is worth thinking about. Because if I don't know how to actually walk out of this office into my kitchen and know how to switch on, switch off, then things become quite unyieldy.
Agreed. And in terms of the makeup of the staff, how would you describe the makeup in terms of your the people that are in the financial world and at the sort of the higher salary levels, as opposed to people in the front line, perhaps at a lower salary level?
Yeah, so I think in terms of spread, my sort of belief or philosophy was always about hire great people who are committed, hardworking, and the rest of it. My default position is one of trust. And I think there's an interesting thing around smart working, hybrid working, flexible working, whatever you want to call it. Is that I trust people because they're mature adults who want to come to work. There's a lot of organizations that are going into well, I don't know if I like this, not seeing people around, and still got the same wage bill, but I can't see this, I can't feel the effect. And, am I getting, are the inputs versus outputs the right sort of balance? But, I sort of work on the basis that I trust everyone to be mature and involved, and I'm looking for people who will, irrespective of where they work. The more senior people tend to work remotely. My finance director is sometimes in Norfolk and quite a lot in Barrow, so she's got a couple of places where she stays. I've got I've got risk people all over the country, from Scotland to Warrington to I've got product people in Yorkshire. I've got, it really is a real mix. There is a balance between how often they're at home versus what their needs are. If we're running workshops, if there are board meetings, if there are a number of sort of in-person meetings, and we sort that out and make sure that they fit in, and people sort of understand when the risk team have a hub week in, the third week in every month, that's sort of fairly mandatory that they turn up, because it's very difficult to participate in some of those very complex discussions and do it on a sort of a remote basis. But we are flexible. We want good, strong, professional, committed people to buy into what we're trying to do.
Terrific. And in terms of how you look after staff, because those days of sort of having facilities at the office as opposed to facilities at home, and sort of programs that people help people sort of improve or be more resilient. What is your approach there?
Well, I think we've got, as circumstances change, we definitely adapt to those. So, but I think we're a fairly enlightened, caring staff, bunch of people, and I think the leadership needs to care about its people. Our job is to get the most out of people, to have a bunch of ordinary people doing extraordinary stuff every day. That's the sort of tone that and it should be enjoyable. So we run all sorts of health and safety side of things. There's a lot of sort of pastoral stuff. There's we run seminars on for men and women on things like menopause training to people. We did quite a lot of crisis training and stress management training during the pandemic. So how do you live and work in a different environment? What are the stresses that you'll see, that you'll feel yourself, and that you'll see across the teams that you operate? So we get experts in to help us, because we don't know everything, but we've got an outreach program from which is our sort of with our HR teams, making outward bound calls, as well as checking on people who are remotely based, who might be a little bit lonely, or we haven't heard from a little while. So I think there's a nice operating rhythm that tries to capture all of those things, and we try and destigmatize all of the challenges that people have, both in their sort of everyday and their working life sort of environments, so that they can talk about it. And if you can talk about it, acknowledge it, you might be able to get some help if you need it.
Got it. That sounds terrific. In terms of then specific benefits, like health and wellness type benefits, does the team have private medical insurance type of situation or not?
Yeah, certainly the executive team do. So it tends to be tiered, and there's sort of a reason for that. But there's a financial reason. The business wants to protect some of the risks, so it wants to make sure that people like me are available and working as much as possible. And if, unfortunately, I have an issue, or one of my team have an issue, they want us to, be sorted out as quickly as possible, so that the business continues on its journey. And that layers its way down through the organisation. We have permanent health insurance for all staff, so so extended sick leave, so which picked up by insurance policies over and above the statutory or the company sick pay periods. And we're just going through quite a big root and branch sort of review of all the staff benefits. So we've had some people in looking at, what best of breed looks like, what are the things that we should be doing to support people in the good times as well as the bad times. It's not just about sickness and benefits, it's not about cash plans and optical care and dental care and general wellness, but it's also about paternity care, paternity leave, maternity leave. It's about sabbaticals. It's about a whole range of other things that that make this a good place for people to work. And I have a funny story actually, which I just deviate. When I was appointed to I drove up to sort of the northwest and found a house and all the rest of it. The board were really on my case, saying, well, we've had an outstanding audit action, which is we don't really have a cohesive people strategy, and we think we sort of might be in the people business, but we don't have a people strategy, and we've been quite highly criticised by our internal auditors and all the rest of it, and it's 2 years outstanding, and we're all pulling our hair out. And I said, hang on a second, this is absolutely something we need to address, but I need a little bit of time, because actually I need to really understand this. I need to listen to what the business is about before you can start to get into some of the real, deep fundamentals. And I think that 6 months on, I grabbed a few people and we went into a room, and I said, we're now going to do, in the next 2 hours we've blocked out, we're going to create a people strategy. And they looked at me sort of blankly, and we've, this is 2.5 years later after the, kick-in that they'd had from the internal audit. And I wrote on the middle of the whiteboard, FBS, Furness Building Society, a great place to work. And I put a big circle around it. And I said, what does that mean to you? And they go, wow. I said, so we pay people really well. Do we pay people at the top or the bottom thing? Yeah, we pay people well. We need to pay people well. We weren't paying people well. We needed to pay people properly. Yeah, we need to have one set of objectives and drivers for success. So we unified a whole range of variable pay type benefits. We need to give people the opportunity to be the very best version of themselves that they can. So not everyone will want to go and do MBAs and stuff like that, but we need to give people the opportunity. We need to be the place which creates a horizon of possibilities for people, and an organization that's prepared to invest in people. So we need to have a really, really strong training development focus on helping people to do the very best. We need to be, and this is where smart and flexible working, we need to be flexible about how people, let's not spend loads of time trying to travel in and out of a remote part of the country. Let's give people the option to have the right work-life balance. But if they're committed to what we're trying to do, which is simply to help people buy their dream homes and look after their savings, as a building society, that's what we want people to be able to do, is to lend their time, to do those things. And we went round and there were a dozen or so themes which became our strategic plan for people, and we're sort of mid-flight. This is a never-ending journey on sort of implementing a load of those staff benefits, being we need to be top of the tree and enlightened employer about how we deal with this. We need to have a whole range of recognition programs that make people feel good about what they've done. We need to reward success. And, we did some quite interesting stuff, at that time to bring the organization together and show a little bit of leadership.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful, wonderful story. I love that idea. The circle you drawn that on the board.
Some of it's not easy, some of it's not difficult, but it might be slightly easier, more difficult to implement. It's to actually say, but just to articulate it. I want to. My job is to create a vision, inspire people to do some great stuff. And if I don't, the other thing we did is we talked about the environment that we actually that we had. So we were in a really horrible, damp, underinvested environment, office. And I said, I'm never, ever, ever going to be able to hire the best people if you actually bring them from interviews here. I said it's disrespectful as to how you look after people. It is stressful coming to an environment like this. People not knowing whether the heating's on, they need to wear a puffer jacket and a coat or a t-shirt and and a whatever, So we want people to feel good. So we moved the head office and all of the administration functions, because actually getting the best out of people is also about putting people in great environments that they feel happy, confident, and all the rest of it. This is important.
Thanks, Christopher. And what is your budget? I mean, have you got a budget for sort of that health and wellness type programs that you run? Is there a specific budget you have?
Yeah, we do. It's not elaborate, but it's sort of. I think we probably persuade ourselves that most things are self-funding. If you've got happy people, healthy people, committed people doing the right thing, the payback will be in less absenteeism, higher productivity. So it's not always apparent. It's quite difficult. And as a business, I'm much more interested in how good we are than as a mutual. And we need to get past some reasonable marketplace thresholds. But this is not about paying dividends. Our dividends to our people, our customers, and a whole range of the communities that we serve. So we will take risks, and I think that's my point. And the financial risk of upping the ante on things like staff benefits, I think are sort of no-brainers, really. So we're building a staff benefits package, which, as well as all the climate change type stuff, is also, it's not just about bike to work and that sort of thing, but it's about gym memberships. It's about some of the things I think over the years haven't really, got traction. So GP consultations online, being able to see someone the afternoon that you've actually got a headache rather than 10 days afterwards. Navigating the healthcare system hasn't always, they've been there for some years, but actually they haven't actually got the traction and the support because of the way that those things have been sold in or communicated, or actually everyone ultimately wants to go and see the doctor that they're registered with and don't believe in some of the alternative routes to people having a discussion.
Yes, I mean, that's fascinating, but that's a great segue actually into what we're doing, because I actually set up a telemedicine company and realized, I sold it and left it, because I realized that actually it's exactly as you say. It's not what people want. People want that real human connection with someone they know. And what we're finding is that within the NHS, you're not seeing the same doc. So you are seeing a doc, it's the clinic. So what the service that Added Health is providing now is the positioning we're coming to, which is interesting. I didn't realize you were in the middle of review, and would love to help and participate if we can in that thinking. So it seems like it's quite good timing, because we're actually working out how does a group of docs and a group of experts, nutritionists, psychologists, and so on, position ourselves to really be at the interface between the GP surgery and the customer, where it's optimizing the use of those precious services, as it were, because the NHS is under ridiculous strain. It's not coping at the moment, to be blunt. And in private, the problem is with the insurance model. Of course, those online docs are incentivized not to refer you, because of course that costs the insurance company money. So what we've what we sort of seeking to be is that completely independent advisor, where we're docs and experts, but we're not incented to do things to you. We incented to get you the help you need when you need it, as quickly and as efficiently as possible, which often means just a message. So we've just finished a study with the University of Oxford with 100 of their employees, where it became a lot of, since we set this up, we've now actually got a lot of that data. And it's very obvious to us that it's exactly as you say, people want to access their GP, but actually want a little bit of help doing that. And so somebody comes to us and they've got, and everything we're doing is as docs, so it's completely confidential. So, but we essentially like a triaging service. It's that interface, we're calling it a new care layer between the customer, the employee in this case, and the healthcare service, where it's about health and wellness. That's our particular focus. We call it proactive health. We're not even calling it prevention. It's actually, let's get in before prevention. Let's get in proactively, independent of your age. The earlier you start, the better. And then without any conflicts of interest, if you do need help, well, we'll just help you get that help with your own GP. So that's what we found is that was most valued by the University of Oxford staff, was that about 10% of people over a 3-month period wanted to access a service where they needed help, and they were caught in a long waiting list, but a message from a group of docs saying, actually, we know this person because we get to know the employees, we get to know our customers, much like you guys, I'm guessing. And then, but we're getting to know them holistically, physiologically, mentally, and really help optimize their sort of their world, their environment, and whether to do with what they're eating, exercise, their mental well-being, sleep, relationships, whatever it is. And then if they do need help, we'll triage. So we had one person in that study where they needed help fairly urgently because they were putting on a very, very brave face to the world, but actually were about to throw themselves off a ledge almost. Not quite as dramatic as that, but were very, very depressed. We were able to send them the depression score that their GP would have sent them. And we say, hey, fill this in. And it was, they needed help. And then we were able to then send that to the GP at the same time, because we knew of facilities, because we docs, we know what's going on in the environment, send them to the talking therapy unit. So that's the position. Does that sound like it's something that could be useful to you guys?
Yeah, from my running the odd healthcare insurance business, and and we never really acted or tried to behave like an insurance. So I was involved with the development of a company called HSA, and then Simply Health, and I ran all the core business of Simply Health.
Oh yeah, I know Simply Health. Yes.
So and I think it might have lost its way a little bit at the moment strategically, but that's really I've still got great admiration for that organization, and it's about everyday health. It's about, we used to talk about this is all about time, care, and continuity to build trust. If you can build trust in where people go, the sort of level of support, professionalism, confidentiality, and the actions that come out of it, then you'll I'm sure get through onto sort of a winning sort of formula. And I think that the way that is done is I think it's quite fragmented. It's quite difficult because you've got the NHS stuff, which traditionally everyone wants to trust but doesn't quite trust, and it doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do, and it's sort of, it's slow, and it's and then you've got some private health stuff, which is as you rightly say, has some vested interest in making sure there's no claims leakage, making sure that things sit and that the support is given at the right time, and they work with good spirit actually. And then you've got a whole range of assistance companies which sort of don't quite sort of correlate. And then you've got health information, you've got expert patients. I know more about me than anyone else is going to know about me. And actually, if I'm a reasonably educated person, I can go and look at all sorts of things, self-diagnosis. And I have some friends of mine who are, consultants, doctors, whatever. And it's like, well, you know what, you know what you know, and it's then trying to unlock. There might well be a particular problem, but actually that's not the root cause. And actually it's only through time, care and continuity you'll find that actually it's caused by undue stress, financial position, financial stress that you've got at home, worries about kids, some other stuff, because these things generally don't come about unless people have a lifestyle that actually, you know, overweight, diabetes, whatever it might be. These things that they're normally the things that manifest themselves at the top, but they're not the root cause. People don't get born with diabetes. They have either physical or mental challenges that means that they live their life in a particular way or don't exercise to a particular level. So I think the challenge that you're taking on in terms of sort of added health is brave and also very should be very worthwhile, because people need this stuff, but they need to build a relationship with a system that creates trust through, you know, giving time is the most valuable commodity, treating people like a part of a process, you know, is just, you know, disrespectful. You know, I'm not a process, I'm a person. You know, I want people to listen to me, not to and actually it's quite interesting that listening and silent are spelt with the same letters in a different way, you know.
I never thought of that. That's fascinating.
And if you get there, you know, this is about not listening to me because I want to reply to you. It's about listening to me because I want to understand you. And I think that's where, you know, a lot of businesses and organizations fail, because actually, do they really listen in the right way? Are they silent, and do they rearrange the letters, and do they listen to understand rather than listen to just merely reply? And you'll know, as being a doc, you know, actually what you see, what you feel, what you how those people communicate when they come into your consulting rooms it's far more than you know, I think I've got an ACL issue and I need to have my knee chopped about.
Yeah.